and then I'm going to hand it to Senator Champion. Let's hear it for the president of the Minnesota Senate, everybody. Go on. So, when I think of black men, I think of my dad, Leonard Ellison. When I think of black men, I think of my grandfather, Frank Martinez. I think of my other grandfather, Zolly Ellison. And these two guys, they came from the deep, deep South, Louisiana, Georgia, up to Detroit, and they raised me and my 4 brothers. And my father and the dreams of my grandfathers were big for us. And their biggest dream was that we would be able to do better than them. And how many brothers in the room want their biggest dream is to see their children do better than they've been able to do? Right? Some of you own your own homes, but maybe it was a family dream for the family to own their own home, to get a college education. Being a black man is a very special thing to be, because we never missed a war. Did you know that? The black man never missed a war. The people who the American people admire the most, so often for their athletic and artistic prowess, are black men. And yet those same black men, some of them, it was a time when they couldn't even walk through the front door of the stadium that they were about to be the stars. They couldn't. Duke Ellington, they wanted him to play great music, but he had to come through the back. And yet the world was amazed at the music he was able to produce. Black men have given all to America, but through the course of history, we haven't been always recognized for what we have contributed to this great country. And I think it is at this moment in time that the black male electorate, it is about time, it is high time that a campaign stopped and said, wait a minute, we gotta have a black men's agenda. Yes, sir. And so I thank the Harris campaign, I do, because I think it is right and it is just and it is proper. If they want our vote, they should come and ask for it and tell us what they're planning on doing to earn it. And that's what this conversation is about tonight. So, brothers, many of you come from various walks of life. Somebody said, what do black men want? I'm like, it depends on the black man you talking to. There's a lot of diversity amongst us, but there's some things that we want. We want respect. Amen. Don't disrespect me, man. Treat me right. Don't disrespect me. And quite honestly, when the 5 brothers who were wrongfully accused of the abuse of the jogger in Central Park, and the resident billionaire realtor said that they need to be executed, that's my idea of disrespect right there. Or what about when an African-American football player taking a knee in order to lift up the issue of police accountability is called a son of a B by the president? Or, what about so many things? Some of us were but not born in this country. How many brothers hail from another land, were born elsewhere? Well, I don't believe you come from an S-hole country. Oh, that's right. Although some people said you did. We are men of pride. We are men of substance. We are men of important contribution. We are voters, and we deserve to be talked to about what our needs are. And so I just say to you a quick story, and then I'll hand it over to my dear brother, Bobby. When George Floyd was killed, I'll never forget that morning. I happen to be Muslim, so we get up for something called Frazier prayer at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Some of y'all know about this. So the first thing I see is I see this videotape on the phone. And I don't even realize it, but I see warm tears hitting the screen of my phone. About an hour and a half later, who calls me? Tim Walz. Did you see that? My God, what are we going to do? A week later, less than a week later, he would be appointing me to prosecute that case. When we prosecuted the case and we won, and I didn't know whether we were going to win, me and you tried cases together, right? I didn't know what the verdict was going to be till the judge read the form, brother. I didn't know we were going to win, and I was the lead prosecutor on the case. Because how many other people have been on video, killed, beat, shot, and there was no accountability? You know what I'm saying is true, right? But one of the first calls we got after that conviction was from another person who was a prosecutor. Her name is Kamala Harris. And she said, I want to thank your team and I want to commend you all for the work that you have done. So all I want to do is I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for being savvy voters, demanding that people cater to your needs and listen to your feelings. I know you're in for a robust conversation tonight. And so with that, I'm going to present to you none other than,
Sorry, the program is Mayor Hollis Winston.
And I want to present to you none other than Mayor Hollis Winston. Brooklyn are the largest most populous African American city in the state of Minnesota. Give it up for Hollis Winston.
And I want to just say a big thank you to AG Keith Ellison for all he's done for our state. When we went through that trauma with George Floyd, with what happened to George Floyd, he was there. And he made us believe that justice is possible. And that's no small thing in a state like Minnesota. So quickly, I know we have a panel, but I just want to talk about what it means to have Madam Harris as the president. I think when we look at our city of Brooklyn Park, roughly 87,000, about 40% African heritage, there's some things that have been done under the Biden administration that she would continue. And I think one of them is when we talk about, everybody wants to talk about criminal justice. And when we look at our city of Brooklyn Park, one of the things that we were able to take with the ARPA funds and the dollars that came, we were able to come up with programs like violence intervention. And we don't always want to talk about this as a community, but we've had kind of an interesting relationship sometimes with public safety. And one of the things that allowed was we were able to come up with some upstream programming where if a kid gets into an argument with their parents or something happens and it's not violent, rather than going to escalate it all the way up to public safety, we go to a violence interrupter. And what that has done is it's allowed people to get resources, social work, get them out of the system. And now we're getting kids into a school to work pipeline or school to career pipeline. So we were able to interrupt that because of what we've seen this administration do. I just came from another program thrown by my fraternity, and they were basically talking to kids at the University of Minnesota about their career. How do you get a job? How do you fill out the resume, this and that? And you could tell they were all concerned about what they were going to be and what opportunities they were going to have down the road. And then when you look at, I would just say Madam Harris's background and what she's talking about in terms of helping people start these small businesses and these tax credits, supporting people with these small businesses. That's something that our community's been asking for quite some time. Say, hey, I want to be able to get a good job, right? I want you to continue investing in HBCUs and in public school education and all these educational programs. But I also want the opportunity to start a business. So when you have a person who is running for president on a ticket that's saying, I see you as a person. I see you as someone who's very concerned about supporting their family, making sure their family is viable, but they've got opportunities down the road. We're seeing that with, the Harris-Walz ticket. And to me, that's incredibly important. And that's why, we talk about brothers and we talk about brothers falling off and not supporting. I always want to say this piece. We know that the sisters supported over 90%. We know the brothers are at about 80%. There's no other group that's supporting more. We're not about to change that. So when we're talking to people in the community and they're saying, well, we're leaving. No, we're not leaving. We're here because we know that this is the ticket. These are the people that can continue this progress. So, I think it's incredibly important that when we go out and we talk to the people in the community, that we help them understand that this is real. And the first thing that they see is you. And the second thing they see is your family and helping you support your family. So that's why I'm so supportive of this. And I want to go ahead and introduce our president, Senator Champion, President of the Senate.
Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Let me start this by first of all thanking you all for being here. And will you all be so kind as to give another hand, first of all, for our Attorney General, Keith Ellison. And then can we give a great applause to also Mayor Winston from the Great Brooklyn. to just briefly put this in context, this conversation in context before this wonderful panel goes forward. Needless to say, I want to say good evening to everyone. And it is an honor to be with you tonight as we gather for this important conversation about the future of our communities and the critical role we as Black men play in shaping our future. I want to first of all say thank you to the Camden Social for hosting us tonight. This is a Black-owned business. Let's give this wonderful business a hand. Why this conversation is so important is because we are less than 2 weeks away from one of the most consequential presidential elections in our history. And we must remember that the power we hold to influence change. Vice President Harris has always been a fighter for the people. She's fought for our rights, advocating for policies that uplift Black men through access to quality education, affordable health care, and economic opportunity. Someone said the best social program is a job, is a business, is an opportunity to make money. That's important. Her opportunity agenda for Black men is a roadmap for progress, providing the tools to help us achieve financial freedom, lower costs to better provide for ourselves and our families, and protect our rights. Now, I also have to say that Donald Trump couldn't care less about equipping Black Americans with the tools we need to get ahead. He has proposed terminating programs like the Affordable Care Act, putting the health care coverage of millions of Black Americans at risk, and his radical Project 2025 agenda will raise costs for families by nearly $4,000 per year, threatening overtime payment for many workers, and he wants to gut Social Security. Black men has always been at the center of shaping our political landscape, and this election is no different. All of you in this room are agents of change here in Minnesota. So I'm proud to be here alongside these incredible Black leaders and those who are in the audience in order to lead a conversation about the future of our community. Our community. I'll have each of the folks that are here, I want them to introduce themselves and they answer a question. And before they start, I want to recognize Apostle Hill, who's here from High Praise Ministries. If we can give him a hand, Al Flowers, and there's others that I'm missing, Mr. McGlory. I see Kareem back there. He's probably wearing his Howard University. But I can't go through each and every one of you, but each and every one of you are important. So with that, we're going to start with our first question with each panelist who's going to introduce themselves. Here's the question. And once I ask you the question, before you answer it, please talk about yourself a little bit and then get into the question. We are here tonight as leaders in our community. Can each of you share your personal experiences and what motivated you to engage in the fight for progress and equity for Black men and Black people in Minnesota? And why are you supporting the Harris-Walz ticket? We're going to start with, I'm so proud to be sitting next to not only this great Viking legend, but also Justice Page, because he was on our Minnesota Supreme Court. Can you give a hand?
I come to this notion of justice, having been a child in the 1950s when state-sponsored segregation was, that's just the way things were. We've come a long way since then, but we haven't come nearly far enough. I was influenced by Brown versus the Board of Education. I had the good fortune of having some success on the athletic field, which gave me opportunities to do what I could to, as someone once said, send the elevator back down. Comes time when I got to the top. We all have that opportunity, and I, along with my wife Diane and my late wife Diane, have worked tirelessly to create opportunity for young men and women of color across the state of Minnesota. Because those young people are not only the future, but when we all do better, as Paul Wellstone would say, we all do better.
Yes, right. Right.
And for me, doing better is education. Because if you talk about jobs, education puts you in the position to be successful in the workplace or any place else. And so that's how and why I come to this and why I'm here tonight.
Thank you so very much. And we're gonna go to State Representative Cedrick Frazier. Can you give him a hand?
Thanks, everybody. Representative Cedrick Frazier. My district, I represent District 43A, New Hope and Crystal, not too far from here. My distinguished justice, so I was born and raised in Chicago, South Side, community known as Inglewood. But I was the first grandchild of my family born in Chicago. My grandfather migrated from Mississippi. And the reason he had to migrate is because he was working and he was attacked by a white man. He fought back. One, his mom had to put him on a train that night to send him to safety. That story is something that I think about all the time when we talk about this fight for justice. And Justice Page just said, we've come so far, but we still have so far to go. Now, if any of you know about Mississippi, we have they have great disparities in the state of Mississippi. But in Minnesota, when you look at the disparities we have here, they rival Mississippi. And the reason it's important to talk about that and talk about those compare and contrast because we have a lot of resources here in Minnesota. We are one of the more affluent states in this nation. Mississippi is not. So there is no way we should have those disparities. And those disparities are the deepest for Black men in the state of Minnesota. And all we ever asked for was an opportunity to be successful. We're not asking you to hand things out. We're asking you to give us a fair playing field and give us an opportunity. So with that in mind, I fight for justice and I ran for office to ensure that we can get resources to folks and create those opportunities for Black men. And I think we've been able to do a lot of that recently with the leadership of President and Senator Bobby Joe Champion to get resources to our communities. But that's what pushes me, that's what guides me, and what Justice Page said about letting that elevator back down. I don't talk about this often, but before I went to law school, I reached out to you and asked you to give me your advice because I'm a former athlete, not as successful as you were. It's always humble when he talks about that. But I asked him to talk to me for a minute and give me some advice on what it was like for an athlete to get into the profession of law. And he responded right away, and we had about a 30-minute conversation on that day out of the blue. And that's reaching back. That's the mentorship piece too. That's a part of this conversation we're gonna have. But that reaching back is the reason I'm here to do this work, and that's my passion. That's here.
Thank you so much. I'm going to PJ Hilby because we believe that business is important, and every member here represents a different segment of our wonderful community. PJ Hill.
Man, thank you, Senator Bobby Joe. I'm PJ Hill, born and raised here in Minneapolis. Played basketball at Minneapolis North. Went to Ohio State. Yeah, I'm holding it down. Then went to Ohio State, then had the incredible opportunity to play professional basketball for almost a decade. And then I retired and I got into finance and real estate. I think the moment that really changed me is when Brother George Floyd was murdered. I was living one block from there, from 38th in Chicago. And I had been in finance and been in sports, but have never been involved from a social justice standpoint. And I think at that moment, I wanted to use my talents that I had in finance to really liberate our people economically and be able to change the narrative. And so that's why I'm here today. I think my ultimate goal is to create 1,000 Black millionaires. And so I believe financial liberation is the key. So we don't have to depend on the system. And I'm looking forward to partnering with an administration that aligns with that vision and sees us as an asset. And how will they help create wealth for us? So that way the wealth can change hands between us. So that's why I'm here. Thank you, Senator.
Can you give another hand to PJ? This is the young man that we're very proud of from North Minneapolis. And you have seen V3, which is there on Plymouth and Glendale. That's one of the main architects over there of the vision, let me say, along with Erica Baker. That is none other than Malik Rucker. Can we give him a hand?
I appreciate that. You always know how to use those words. As Senator Champion said, my name is Malik Rucker. I'm a proud Northside native. Family's been here for generations. I'm the proud son of Charles Rucker and Shonda Baker. And
Yeah, come on, that's good.
and if y'all been watching anything about my dad, he's not the politician at all, but now he's on the Minneapolis Park and Rec Board. So he's joined the fight as well. But you know, I'm a product of North Minneapolis. I was a Minneapolis hustler. Played football for the Police Activities League, ran track for the Hospitality House. I was an Oak Park neighborhood kid. Harvest Prep. I went to Harvest Prep, and you know, that really shaped my life. And PJ was a Buckeye, and I was a Hawkeye. I got a Division I scholarship to play football at the University of Iowa. And you know, the moment that changed for me was 2016. I was still playing football, and I remember the time came to vote, and it was my first year being eligible to vote, and I couldn't do it because I had a football game. And that was the moment that shifted my mindset. And I'm like, I gotta join the fight. I can't just sit back and think things are just gonna happen. I need to put that work in. So that's how I got into the fight.
Thank you so very much, Kenny Cam. You know, because we're here to talk about the policies and the plan of the Harris-Walz administration. Before we get there, I want to know, which policies do you believe have the most significant impact on the lives of Black men today? We're going to start with Representative Cedrick Frazier.
I'll start. I think one of the big ones is the investments in entrepreneurship opportunities. Like I said, we've got a lot of folks here that they work hard, they'll do what they need to do to have the opportunities. But oftentimes, because of the huge disparities that we have in our systems and the history that we have in our systems, they are precluded from, or there's barriers to getting access to the capital that they need to start their small businesses, or to start any business, or to keep their business sustained. So to me, when I hear that they want to make these huge investments to create these opportunities for Black men to have the opportunity to start their business or grow their businesses, that's a huge thing to me. Because what we do know is that when Black men start businesses, they hire other Black people, Black men. That means that there's more opportunities in the community. That means that dollar is going to circulate in the community. They're going to be within that community, grow that community, and that's going to create even more opportunities for the community, particularly for the Black communities in those areas. So I think that's a really huge piece for that's a part of that platform that they put out. And I want to say this, you know, that platform, when it came out, there was a lot of talk from Black men saying that we weren't hearing enough. And I want to say that, remember that we always did agitate. We have been a vital voting bloc for the Democratic Party to get elected and win elections. And this is a response to the agitation of Black men saying, what about us? Why aren't you focusing on us? We have been an asset. We are an asset to you as the voting bloc. Focus on us. And this platform actually does that. But that piece is a huge piece for me in terms of moving us forward.
I'm going to go to PJ Hill. What kind of leadership do you think Black men need in the White House, and how does that compare to Trump's first term in office? PJ Hill.
Well, I think that's a great question. I want to start by this. Look, I'm the proud son of a Black queen. I'm married to a beautiful Black woman who's a principal. My daughter goes to Minnehaha Academy, who is led by an incredible Black woman, Dr. Donna Harris. And I've had the pleasure to be able to work alongside and stand in solidarity with women like Shonda Smith Baker, Susan Bass Roberts, Tanya Allen, Laisha Ward, incredible Black women who lead with fearlessly, courageously, who are articulate and overqualified. So I think, you know, as we stand here today, I want to debunk the myth that Black men are not supporting Black women, because we definitely. I had this conversation with my father-in-law, who's in the back, Mr. Mike, that, you know, we're standing here, but we also want to be able to, like you said, as Black men, know that we are going to be supported. We know that the number one way that wealth is passed through this country has been through real estate. So when we talk about home ownership and a chance to be able to build wealth, we want an administration that we can partner with who's going to invest in us. So that way we can be free economically. And so I'm standing on that, creating wealth for our community, creating opportunities. That's why I think, VP Harris and Governor Walz will do for us as a community.
Thank you so much. We're gonna go to Malik. Ruff, the same question. What kind of leadership do you think Black men need in the White House, and how does that compare to Trump's first term in office? Malik.
Yeah, I'll build off PJ, and for me, it's that intentional investment into Black. When I think about all of the policies for Black men and the 1 million, 20K loans and investment in commercial real estate and housing, giving Black men those opportunities to build wealth. PJ talked a lot about the wealth building and the wealth creation, but I think it also goes a step further to the political power. I think of Ron Harris here today. That's on his campaign every day. You have to have. Yeah, can we give him a clap? There's a lot of wealthy Black men up there, and we have to match Black wealth with Black political power. And I see that in this Harris campaign of them intentionally investing in Black people.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the question, because we do understand that it's important from the economic perspective, housing, education, higher ed. And one of the things I'm also proud about is their continued investment and focus on historically Black colleges and universities. One of the things that I want to say is that Vice President Harris recently released the Opportunity Agenda for Black Men, which focuses on equipping Black men with the tools to achieve financial freedom, which we talked about, lower costs to better provide for themselves and their families, and protect their rights. This question is going to go to Malik again, and then I'm going to go to Justice Page. Malik, here's the question. How important is it to you that the government provides ways to create opportunities specifically tailored to Black men's unique challenges? What message do you think it sends for Black men when leaders like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz actively seek to address our needs?
Yeah, that's it affects me instantly. I really only hang out with Black people, so all my friends, and I think about the decriminalization of marijuana. We all know people. We probably all, so a lot of us smoke. I don't smoke anymore, but I did. And that's just being honest. And I've seen many go down over marijuana. But I also think about Fonzie Mayfield, who we're in his establishment along with his wife Kevin. I think about Fonzie and how does this how does the Harris campaign invest into our Black businesses and allow us to access that capital and to be able to access not only debt but cash and capitalize on our Black businesses. I also think about my friends who, when my grandpa was looking for a house, it was like $26,000, right? That's a car payment. Not even, you probably can't even get a car for $26,000. And my age group is facing some different challenges, and I think about my friends when I think about that question, and how do we gain access and opportunity to become homeowners and to be able to create that long-term wealth for generations.
And now I'm going to go to Justice Page. What challenges do you think still exist for Black men trying to build wealth? And how do you believe the Harris policies can help overcome these obstacles? Justice Page.
Well, let me begin by saying I'm not a policy expert. I understand that creating opportunity creates hope. And when you create hope, people will feel. And for far too long, across this country as well as here in Minnesota, African Americans have not had that hope because there are those who would take us back to the past. That past we talked about earlier. When you walk into a restaurant and couldn't come in, you'd have to walk in the back door if you could get it at all. You'd have to drink at a separate fountain if you could drink it all. And one of the things that hope does, as I say, is help you want to build. When you don't have hope, there's a tendency to want to tear things down. And the policies that Vice President Harris and Governor Walz stand for are all about creating hope. Indeed, their whole campaign is about joy and hope, as opposed to, I don't even quite know what to call it, other than doom and gloom. But when we create hope, we can build. And certainly all the young Black men that we had with the Page Education Foundation, they want to build. They want to be a part of the future. They want to be a part of making the future better and brighter than it might otherwise be. And it's all because they have hope for a better future.
And just in case, if you hold the mic just a little longer, here's a question that I have. How important is character? When you think in terms of leadership, when you think in terms of someone who's a decision maker, when you think in terms of someone who is going to make decisions for a country, how important is character? I see a lot of, Donald Trump bashing the vice president, calling her every name that you can possibly think of. Never, in church, I'm certain that Apostle Hollis, Apostle Hill will appreciate this. Sometimes we think people say so much about you, and I never ever see you as a child of God. They just talk about you. How important is character when you think in terms of leadership?
Well, if there's something going on in our country, it is a lack of character. I don't know where it begins, but I know that being a bully is not strength. Being a bully is not something to be proud of. Indeed, to be bullies or cowards. They don't have the courage to stand up and do what is right. They think they can run over people simply because it's easy. If you notice, bullies tend to pick on people who they perceive as weaker or smaller than they are. They don't pick on the big guy. They pick on the little guys, or the ones they perceive as weak. And quite frankly, linked to character is being honest, being truthful, saying what we mean, meaning what we say, standing up for what is right, figuring out what is the difference between right and wrong, and then doing what is right, respecting ourselves, respecting others. That's what character is all about. And it's also about telling the truth. It is also about telling the truth. And without truth, we cannot have trust. And without trust, we don't have anything. And so the Harris-Walz thing, there is no comparison. They are head and shoulders above their opponents when it comes to being people of good character. And let me just say this. Character is not something we're born with. It's not something that's, we're destined to have. We have to work constantly to build our character. And we have a choice every day in everything we do as to whether we're going to be a person of good character or a person of bad character. And well, I won't get personal. But there are people who want to lead this country whose character leaves a great deal to be desired.
Well, that is certainly true. Okay, to the next question. It's very clear that when Trump was a part of his first term, I hope will be his last term back then. He used to come out with alternative facts. Right. But all it boils down to is what? See, to me, when you start saying alternative fact, go ahead. The notion.
That's the notion of alternative facts. That's crazy. And it's a recipe for disaster. Because we may have our own opinions.
Yeah.
We don't get to have our own facts. Because I talked about trust. If we can't have a conversation where I can trust what you say, no sense in having the conversation. We might as well sell things in the street. That's right. Because otherwise there's nothing there. We can't live in an ordered society without truth, without trust, and without lies. And we can have differences of opinion. Lord knows there are plenty of reasons for that. But we can't be operating on different things. We just can't be.
Well, before this, but I'm going to go to Representative Frazier with the next question. I knew that we were in trouble when, I don't know if you saw that before, when Donald Trump was standing in front of a building and he had the Bible. And remember, the Bible was upside down. And then he referred to 2 Corinthians. I knew you weren't the Bible reader because it was the 2nd Corinthians. 2 Corinthians. But now I'm going to Representative Frazier. I want to say that part of the Harris-Walz plan is to champion education, training, and mentorship programs that help Black men get good paying jobs in high demand industries and lead their communities. Here's my question. Why is this type of investment important to create and increase job opportunities for Black men, especially when compared to Trump's economic failures? Representative Cedrick Frazier.
Yeah, I think just Paige touched on this one. Education, though, is foundation. I mean, we've got an economy that's built on education, and I'm not even talking. I'm not saying that you have to go to college when I say that, right? I'm saying at the foundational level, K through 12, that is foundational. That you need to have that. You need to have quality access to that. That's what we had Brown versus Ford for. Brown versus Ford versus Brown for. That's why we had that fight. That's why we had to fight during the civil rights movement to give us access. Again, we're just talking about give us the opportunity. We'll take care of the rest. You give us the opportunity, we're going to work hard, we'll be successful. So this investment they're talking about in education, like continuing to invest in our HBCUs, which create most of the Black doctors, the Black lawyers, the Black entrepreneurs, right? That is a big deal. But at the baseline K through 12, we're talking about investing in a way that at that level, our kids are going to have the opportunity to have experiences that we don't currently have. And again, it goes back to why I drill this down to what's happening in Minnesota. Again, we have some of the largest disparities in the country when it comes to our young Black boys having successful education opportunities at K through 12. The investment they're talking about, now we've done it here in the state. We've had the largest investment in the history in the past 2 years. They're talking about doing the same thing at the federal level. And that says something when they're specifically focused on what is needed for young Black boys to be successful. And and we should clap about that because that hasn't been done. we haven't had a politician make that dedication and make that promise. Now, we'll hold them accountable once they get there, but we haven't had politicians make that promise and make that dedication for that commitment. And that's what we need to do. So I think that's why it is very important that we have that focus on education.
PJ, while the mic is going to PJ Hill, that's why it's important that we see a Jay Rico Alexander who worked with PICA and early childhood development. Let's give Rico a hand.
I think I second that. We talk about, education and can really change the narrative for our people. And it's not only formal education like college. You look at the trades right now. People who are in the trades are making. My dad was a tradesman. He was a journeyman. He was a concrete guy, and he's done very well for himself. But I think about the investment she talks about, not only in housing, but when we talk about the next big thing is the great digital divide. So how do we make sure that our people participate in AI and technology, and we have the skill set to be able to leverage all of these things that are coming? And I want to say this, though we all have different stories, we share these common hopes to be able to, provide for our family, hopes to be able to raise our kids and our family in a great environment. But the number one hope is how do we leave our communities and our place and our families in a better situation than we found it? And I think people's perception is their reality. And my perception is I believe in VP Harris and that promise that she's making to Black America to make the right investment. And so that is becoming my reality. And that's why I'm here today. And I understand this, that character is displayed publicly, but tested privately. And we've seen what Trump has done. I mean, not only publicly, but privately as well. So I believe that, having a leader who has tremendous character, who is truthful, who is honest, and who I can see myself in her plan. And that's what I hear and I see with VP Harris. And so that's why I think these kind of investment and the support from Black men is important.
And part of that Harris-Walz plan is also investment in entrepreneurs who want to be entrepreneurs and ideas. There's resources that they want to put there because guess what? Capitalization is a big problem. What about when an idea is germinating and you want to make sure that you can test it and see if you can take it a step further? For them to have a plan that includes ideas, implementation, support of all those, that is a continuum and it's a well thought out comprehensive plan. And you know why I say comprehensive? Because do you remember during the debate that somebody said that they have concept of ideas, but no real ideas, right? I'm gonna now go to Justice Page. We know that Donald Trump has promised to terminate the Affordable Care Act. Now, ripping insurance coverage from over 3 million Black Americans and raising the cost for millions of Black families, repealing the Affordable Care Act, which is also known as, because Obama said he'd like to know that you care. So you know that he cares, right? Repealing the ACA would disproportionately impact Black communities. Can you talk a little bit, Alan Page, Justice Page, how important is addressing health issues like sickle cell disease, diabetes, mental health, prostate cancer, and other health challenges that disproportionately impact Black men and their families?
Well, it's really pretty simple. For our African American communities, the disparities that we face, whether they are in terms of healthcare or health, education, employment, housing, take your pick. I mean, those negative disparities are there in almost every aspect of our being, except for the criminal justice system. We fix we keep working to ensure better health. We keep working to ensure better education, better housing, better employment. Maybe we can flip those numbers so that we aren't overrepresented in the criminal justice system. and underrepresented every place else. And I believe that the Harris-Walz ticket will work on doing just that. And might I just say one more thing? You know, one of the complaints you hear is that, well, we've been supporting Democrats or whoever it is for all these years and they haven't done it.
Yes.
Well, we've got to hold their feet to the fire. And we have the ability to do that. Not only hold their feet to the fire, but you know, it's pretty hard to make progress when somebody's trying to pull you back. So it's not just Vice President Harris and Governor Walz that we have to elect. It's people like you.
Yes.
People like you across the board, across the community, across the church. Then we will see change. And we have the power to create that support that will make that change happen. Because let's not be starry-eyed here. There are those who want to take us back to the past. Indeed, you talk about repealing the Affordable Care Act. Think about the Voting Rights Act.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and which gets us to judges. If you want to change the future, put somebody in the White House who will not put ideal laws or what appear to be ideal laws. I won't say that it's all ideology, but they appear to have an agenda. We need somebody who will put people on our courts who will not impose their will, but exercise their judgment.
But let me say this. One of the things that I want you to understand of what Justice Page is also talking about, the Affordable Care Act, it was also implemented so that we would have preventative care. And you don't want to use the emergency ward as a way to go to the hospital and then something is too far along. And so it is so important that we understand the significance of the Affordable Care Act, because if you don't, you will miss it, because it is all designed for us to get better health outcomes. The other thing that you need to understand is that in Minnesota, we had to pass the Minnesota Voting Rights Act because the 8th Circuit decided that they were going to take away the private right of action for us if there was voting dilution or any shenanigans when it comes to voting. So don't miss what Justice Page is also talking about when it comes to judges. Whoever becomes president, I believe is going to have two choices when he can become the Supreme Court, and before the Supreme Court, federal judges, district level, because remember, cases got to get to the Supreme Court. And if people are making bad choices along the way, that is going to be a problem. So Justice Page, can you just reiterate the importance of the notion of judges? Because we sometimes think about everything else, but we don't think about the impact those judges have on the criminal justice system and on our lives.
The people who serve as judges are maybe, quite frankly, more important than the legislature and the executive. Don't get me wrong. The legislature and the executive, they are critically important. But when it comes to ensuring people's rights. The only branch of government that has that in control is the judicial branch. And the only election process at the federal level has gotten so, I don't even know what to call it, out of whack, that we're putting people on the courts who don't understand what it means to be impartial. Don't appear to understand that we serve as judges and justices for everybody, not just some of us, but for all of us. And we have to get back to that. Because, again, if we come to the conclusion that our judicial branch, our judges, the system is rigged, then why would you go to court? If you look at some of the hot spots around the globe, very few of them have impartial judicial systems. Because you go before somebody and you know they've got a bench and they're going to rule against you, why would you go to court? Why not just, sit in the streets? Your odds are just as good, or just as bad. We have to change the trajectory of our judicial system.
And if I can say this, you know, when Justice Page was on the Minnesota Supreme Court, every so often he would have to run for re-election. Right? In fact, how Justice Page ended up on the Supreme Court is by way of an election. Because before that time, no one was appointing people who look like us to the Minnesota Supreme Court. What he's saying is, on the federal level also, there is no election. Those are lifetime appointments.
Appointed by the President of the United
Appointed
States.
by the President of the United States. So that means if you don't like something, you can't even vote them out. That's why who you elect as your commander-in-chief, they have all that discretion and power to make sure that the right people get on the bench. So this is what we lost and didn't think about even when Trump would voted for before, because we didn't focus on the fact that there's so many other things that the office does. Now, the last thing that I'll say, and then I'll go to some of our final questions, is think about this. The justice in his wisdom got you to understand that we don't just need Vice President Harris and Walz in the White House, but they need friends. Because you got to understand, do you remember the famous words of Mitch McConnell when Obama was elected? He said, it is my job to do what? Make sure he's a one-term president. And he did everything he could in order to throw roadblocks. In Minnesota, we need to have the same thing so we can have a trifecta so we would not have gridlock. So I want you to understand that, and last but certainly not least, if anyone, look at the folks in this room, if any of you had 34 convictions, okay, wait a minute.
You wouldn't be walking the street.
I'm not talking about 34 charges. A conviction when you're in the presence of imminence right here. 34 convictions means you went through the judicial process. There was a jury and panel who came back with a verdict where they all had to agree. And they agreed on 34 counts. So he is convicted. He's not just charged. I'm just going to say, go ahead.
I believe he is a convicted. And that's not going to change anytime soon. It may change, but it's not going to change anytime soon.
So I want to say this, there's been historic barriers to black men. We also know that there are barriers in this country for black men when it comes to voting. We're here talking about voting and the importance of this agenda and the importance of what is coming up. I do not want you all to leave here just for us to have a wonderful a social session with each other. I like to. It's good to see the Jets, and I'm glad I'm sitting next to the Hall of Famer. I can't get it. But there's a reason why we're here. So I'm going to pitch this question to Justice Page, and then we'll go to the other panelists. Justice Page, here in Minnesota, we have strong protections for voting rights. What do you think about recent efforts at the national level and in certain states to roll back protections for voting rights, particularly those that were won in the 1960s? And do you feel Vice President Harris would support fair policies compared to Donald Trump?
Well, I think we touched on this a little bit before. Clearly, Vice President Harris and Governor Hollis will be better for black men, black women, white men, white women, Pacific Asian Islanders, men and women, and Native American men and women when it comes to protecting their right to exercise their vote. There can be no question about that. Just look around the country at all the lawsuits in place trying to limit lawsuits and legislation trying to limit people's right to vote. I grew up in a time when, at least as I was taught, the goal is to get more people to vote, not to limit it. And I don't know how we lost our way. We lost it in some place. Now is the time to change it. We have to ensure that all of us have the right to vote. And then we've got to do one other thing. We've got to exercise. That's right.
A couple things, and then we'll go to the other panelists because I have a question for them. If voting wasn't so important, why would they work so hard to stop us from voting? I mean, think about it. Nobody works hard to stop you from doing something that's not good for you. They just let you do it. But they have put every barrier in front of us, whether it's poll tax, whether it's the educational test, whether it's saying that you got to have property before you can vote, whatever it is. Every scheme in order to make sure that you cannot vote and shouldn't vote because it's that important. There's a person that says bad officials are elected when good people don't vote. So if they're trying so hard to divide you, because that's what they're trying to do to us, because it's that important. So I'm going to go to this notion, and because Representative Frazier was also the House author, and I was the Senate author for Restore the Vote, because we wanted to make sure that felons and those Representative Frazier, this is going to be for the rest of you as well. What message would you, as a black male voter, give to future generations about the importance of participating in elections? Representative Frazier.
Yeah, I think it's like I said, my grandfather was born and raised in Mississippi. He was born before the Voting Rights Act was passed, before the Civil Rights Act was passed. So there were many people that put their lives on the line just for that to happen. We've been fighting. Our ancestors have been fighting since the moment they were captured and brought to this land to be a participant in what we call this democracy here. And I would say we should never, ever, ever leave their lives and things they fought for in vain. That's why it's important that we participate in every single election, federal and local, because we need those good people to make sure our lives are already moved forward.
Thank you. Same question.
Yeah, I think, I just want to be a faithful steward of the position that I'm in and the right that I have. I'm a product of so many great Black men pouring into me, like Brother Al, Scott, Tally, my father-in-law, Mike, Okada, Gabe, Dario. So we stand on the backs of the greatest generation who, fought majorly to give us the ball, to give us the opportunity and the rights to be able to do what we have to do. So people like myself and Malik want to be able to honor this next generation by continuing that effort, preaching that message to the young people, being able to make our voices heard, doing our part and taking the ball and kicking it out. So that's what I would say. We need to stand in unity, and you can be sure that the next generation like us two are going to continue the great work that you guys have started.
Mic drop. I'll just say, not participating is participating. And I think we have to be clear on that. We have to get to the polls. I saw Obama say, we vote on all sides too. We vote on the All-Star game. So, my message is that we need to participate. As PJ said, so many people have fought for us to be in this position to continue to vote, to get to vote and to continue to vote. And we need to participate, because not participating is also detrimental.
I would just say a couple of things. One, elections have consequences. Elections have consequences. Two, as I used to tell aspiring law students who try to encourage them to apply for judicial clerkships, don't select out. If you apply and, I may or may not hire you. I can't promise you one way or the other. But if you don't apply, I can guarantee you. The same.
Do something. Right? But the Lord said, what you need is in your hands. What you need is in your hands. What's in your hand is your ability to vote. That is your voice. If you want your voice to be heard, cast that vote. And not just you cast the vote. Let's make sure that we get your friends, Ray, Billy, Shamika, Shaniqua, Jill, and John. We need them all at the polls. And guess what? You can vote early. You don't have to wait until November 5th because we have early voting. But November 5th is the deadline. Do not let November 6th roll around here and you said, man, I wish I would have voted. I hope that you understand the importance of this vote and you get out to vote. And I think,
I was just going to say, I've already voted.
Oh,
Mine is in the box.
and I love his analogy, because I sure was going to say, if you're not in the game, you surely won't make the last shot. Okay, we need you to get in the game and be a part of victory and making history. Making history. What will this moment say? What will you say? Did you rise to the moment? Did you stand up or did you sit down? I want you between now and when we do this final lecture to work hard. Get on the phone. If you're tired, work a little harder. Sleep is overrated. You can sleep after the election. Okay, we need you to be there. Thank you again. Can you give them all a hand? Thank you. Ron Harris, who's the favorite director.
Listen, y'all, one more round clap for this. And give yourselves a round of applause as well. Like the Senate President said, my name is Ron Harris. I'm super proud to be the state director of the Kamala Harris for President campaign here in Minnesota. And I just want to say thank you all for coming tonight. I heard a rumor that Black men weren't supporting Kamala Harris. But I'm looking around and I see a whole lot of brothers, right? And so that's why we're here today, right? Is to make sure that the narrative that's out there about us, we get the opportunity to correct that narrative, right? The reason why I'm so supportive of this campaign, one thing I'm really excited about is the opportunity agenda. And I think you all heard him talk about it a little bit up there. I have never ever seen a presidential campaign roll out a specific policy agenda for not only Black folks, but Black men in particular. Right? And even better than that, it's not a policy agenda that starts with what's wrong with us. It doesn't start with all of our challenges. It doesn't start with our disparities. It doesn't start and end with criminal justice or police brutality, right? The first thing in that agenda is access to capital so we can start our own businesses, right? We're talking about $20,000 for down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. People said it earlier, right? Home ownership is the pathway to wealth in this country. We're talking about establishing a national health equity initiative that focuses on diseases that disproportionately impact us, right? We're talking about programs that have more Black teachers in our schools, because we know that when Black kids have Black teachers, and increase the probability of success. So it doesn't start with what's wrong with us. It starts with what's right about us. It's an agenda that partners with our existing aspirations, right? Because we have so much aspiration in our communities, in our families, in our homes. I'm so excited about this campaign, y'all. We have just 13 days left to go. I started this campaign and it was like 200 days left to go when I got on this campaign. And it's already just 13 days. When in life do you get the opportunity to shape history in a matter of 13 days? We have the opportunity to shape history in just 13 days. And I'll tell you all this, this election is so close. Like, it's so close that we actually don't know what's gonna happen. It is that close. These battleground states all around the country, 1%, 2% maybe, but they're pretty much tied. And so the youth sports analogy is the fourth quarter, all right? We're down a couple points, but the ball's in our hands. And what we do between now and November 5th, we'll decide who wins this game, who wins this outcome. And the thing I love about politics is that we actually hold our own futures in our own hands. Like Bobby Joe said, the work that we do between now and then is going to make or break the difference. And so, well, Ron, what can I do? Glad you asked. A couple things you can do. Number one, make sure you go vote. Make sure you go vote early, right? Get it out the way. If it's easy. For information, write this down. Go to mnvotes.org, mnvotes.org. It'll tell you everything you need to know about where to vote, how to vote early, and all those sorts of things. Get that out the way. Number two, please sign up and do a volunteer shift. Now, it ain't that scary. A volunteer shift, all it means is that you're talking to your neighbors about why this is so important. And that's going to be huge for us. Another thing you can do, record a selfie video, 30 seconds, talking about this Black man right here, why I support Kamala Harris, or why I support Tim Walz. Send it to us to make sure we amplify it, because people need to see your face. There's a reason why we didn't have a panel with just elected officials, right? We got to hear from our elected officials, and we're also hearing from the full spectrum of our community. So they got to hear from you. I got a great campaign team. We got a great plan, but we're not the ones who are going to win this election. It's going to be the work y'all do every day. The last thing that you can do, how many folks got friends in Detroit, Philly, Atlanta, Arizona, Nevada? Raise your hand if you got friends there. Perfect. Text every single one of them and make sure that they vote and make sure they text you their I voted sticker to know that they did. Right? I'm not playing because the race is razor tight in those places. Can we commit to those 4 things? Can we commit to those 4 things?
Souls to the polls as well. Souls to the polls. Participate.
All right. I know y'all hungry. Here's the last thing I'm gonna say. 1, stick around for the happy hour. We got some wings, got some snacks. Stick around for that. Number 2, we've been saying this every day since Kamala Harris has got on this campaign. When we fight, we win. So when we fight, 13 days left to fight, y'all. Thank y'all so much. Let's get this done.
Okay, so you're done. So, we do a couple. Hold on. One, two, three. We need a group picture for all these black men in this room at this moment to show what we're doing and how we're being impacted. So please come over here and convene and let's get this picture together. And hey, come on now. Hey. Oh, now there we go. There we go. Spinning around. I'm good. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Take care. Good. How you doing, man? They need to look at this one. They need to stand there.
We need the light around people, so people need to be behind this.
So they're facing that way? You need to be looking back this way. The lights this way. Y'all gotta be standing up here and looking this way.
The panel here.
Yeah, stand this way. Look this way.
Oh, this way. All right. Oh, so
Get in. Sir, working on it. That's great. Let's go.
We want to get a picture with everybody, right? So we know that you want to do some individual pictures and talking. Can you stop that just for a second? Everybody here, move over there, please.
yes,
Move over there expeditiously.
Yes, tall and small. Tall and small.
Panelists in the front row. Right here. You're gonna be looking at me. Thank you, PJ.
We want the folks who are the more vertically challenged to be in and those who are taller
Cameras over here. Cameras over here.
What they say is that this light, we gotta be clear of this light, so we gotta do it this way, right? So some will do it this way.
Shorties in the back, shorties in the front, big dudes in the back.
Okay, hold on. Hold on.
Are you sure?
No, earthly challenge.
Three, two, one. Everyone is in back. Okay.
It's that new spot. You better turn around. Inside noon. Oh, you got it.
Hey man, how you doing, man? I'm good to see you too. I called you. Give me that. Called me. Actually, I called down and talked to our team about advertising the school board initiative. You still have my cell phone number? Called the one on the any you got reach out at the foundation?
Yeah, well, it's better using it.
Okay. I'm lying. Send me How you doing, man? Got it all taken care of. Thank you so much. We're live now, so we're live. So we're cool. We're good.
Shout out to the site. Thanks so much for covering us.
All right, Ron Harris, head of the Minnesota GFL campaign for the Harris and Walz initiative. Yes, sir.
Christopher, how you doing?
I'm great. How you doing?
Good. I'm so happy to meet you.
Well, I'm live on YouTube right now, and Twitter and Facebook. So, how you feel tonight? What's going on?
You know, the part about it is seeing a bunch of black men in the room, right? And that's what we need to do. We got to get together as black men now so we can take care of our neighborhoods and get things back together. My church is Berean Missionary Baptist Church on Lindale and 30th Avenue. So we need a coalition of black men to start doing their jobs in the community. That's what this is about. But I wanted to meet you forever. Okay. And I finally got that opportunity. Thank you. Thank you, sir. You can come with us. I'm sorry, I'm supposed to come on.
How you doing, man? We're live now. So, Cedrick, Frazier, go ahead. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming out. Thank you all for watching. Hey, for run, we got 13 days left. Make it go out. Make sure you go out, make your voice heard. Let's create history. Let's make that work for us.
Okay, we'll get you back on the show this week. Come on. Okay, thank you. Good to see you, man. Yeah. How you doing, man? Good to see you too. Everything's good? Great. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll call you. Okay. What's the message? Say your name and.
Martin Carpenter, Route 1, founder of Route 1. We work to support Black, brown, and indigenous farmers, and it's so important to get out and vote. So important to get out and make your voice be known, because our ancestors paid the price to give us the opportunity to do so.
Thank you. Lars, what you think?
I said that I'm telling PJ Hill. I said,
we're live now. Go ahead.
He questioned me why I got so many feet. I ain't got 100 buildings, but go ahead. But no.
Something about Al, man. Al done a lot for me.
Yeah, no, but here's the question here. The people that's having a problem saying they don't want to vote for Cameron. I said, what do y'all say to them that's out there that might have a legitimate cause and ain't educated enough because the DFL didn't give them enough money to in the community? No, the Cameron. But we do the Cameron. Don't leave me. No. What you say to the people so they don't feel out of place? Because y'all sitting here with these big.
Well, no, you're right, Al. Okay. Because there's a lot of people who feel that they don't have a voice.
Right.
They feel that they're not a part of the plan. And I 100% understand that, because I'm not in politics every day. I got people like my father who don't really know what's going on. And it's really trusting somebody like myself to say, Dad, here's what's going on. Here's how we advocate for us. And then making sure that he understands, what VP Harris is saying or what Trump is saying. And then how does he feel comfortable to see himself? And that's why I tell everybody, like, they have to find their own way. Make sure they're involved. Because there's a lot of people. We talked about this in 2020. The uprising happened 5 years ago, 4 years ago. People feel the same.
Well, CJ, what I was talking about, none of the people that you said We need to get out the boat. They not here. Y'all already there. Y'all already there. That's why they.
Joe, what you think? Senator Champions live now. YouTube, Black Press USA. How you doing?
I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you got a chance to capture this important moment to see Black men supporting Kamala Harris and the Walz ticket, but also just understanding what the platforms are and that they've been very clear about what they would do specifically for Black men, having us on their minds, and implementing a strategy or developing a strategy so that if they're elected and we are crossing every I, crossing every T, dotting every I, cross our legs, arms, eyes, everything in order to get them over. So thank you so very much for being here.
Giving any thought to the likelihood that you're going to be the next lieutenant governor of Minnesota?
I don't think about it at all. The only thing I think about is if that happens, that means we got Walz and Harris-Walz.
That's right.
Which is what is most important. So the Trump has no way of putting his feet or laying in that bed in the White House.
All right. Bobby Joe, thank you.
Thank you, Al. Thank you for what you all would.
Yep. How you doing? Let me get a comment from you. What about tonight? What's your name? What's your thoughts? Sorry.
Yeah. I thought it was great. I mean, it's great to see all the Black men of sports out there.
I just dropped out. Thank you, anyway, though. Let's drop.
Just told Bob you left me. I said, soon as you came back, Bob, you got all that fake evidence. Okay, I'm leaving you alone.
Got this stuff.
Yeah. You got it, Bob? Yeah, anytime.
rally up here at,
Did you know our vision at JB
Up
Hunt
here
is
at,
to create the most efficient
hold on a second, let me
transportation
change my
network in
phone.
America? As we work towards
Hang
that
on, hang on.
vision, we know it's our incredible drivers who help us deliver on our promises. And we know
Hold
that
on.
having a fleet of great drivers means providing them with the best possible driving jobs. Join a team that knows driver success is
Right, phone
company
hooked up
success.
here.
Visit drivejbhunt.com. That's drivejbhunt.com.
Let's continue right now with Madison.
There we go, got it. Hear me? Hold on. I'm gonna dial you right back. Oh, dial me again. Come, hold it, now I hear you. You there? Hello? Call me right back. Okay.
In trouble. And we laugh because we hear our first name and we want, it's like, James, then your ears perk up. It's stand up real straight. First of all, thank you for coming in.
Hey, Shelley.
Okay.
I'm leaving.
Hear me now?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I'm leaving this black men's meeting up here at Camden Social with Keith and
Oh.
Bobby and a lot of the black elected men doing a Harris, rally. So it's cool.
Oh.
I'm heading back home now.
Now, turn right. Cool.
Bobby don't like being at home alone when it's dark.
Yeah,
So I'm rushing.
I know. And it's getting dark early.
It's dark, yeah.